Ecstasy. In 1933, Ecstasy challenged cinematic norms with a sequence that stands among the most contentious of Hollywood's golden age. Starring a young Hedy Lamarr, the film featured what is widely considered one of the earliest on-screen portrayals of a woman's pleasure, an uncharted moment that led to bans in the United States, Germany, and various other countries. The Catholic Church denounced the film, branding it indecent, while bootleg copies passed among cinephiles eager to discover what the uproar was about. According to Lamar's 1966 autobiography, Ecstasy and Me, My Life as a Woman, director Gustav Machati misled her into filming the scene, allegedly using a hidden camera to capture her reactions without her complete awareness. Some historians dispute this account, observing that Lamar's memories emerged decades later and may have been colored by her dissatisfaction with how the film overshadowed her subsequent career. Nevertheless, Ecstasy solidified its place in history as a production that defied conservative standards well before Hollywood was ready to openly accept such portrayals. Lolita. Lolita in 1962 challenged Hollywood's confines with its provocative subject matter, compelling director Stanley Kubrick to navigate strict censorship requirements. The most notorious scene, Sue Lyon's Lolita reclining in heart-shaped sunglasses savoring a lollipop, featured no explicit physical contact but brimmed with innuendo. James Mason's Humbert Humbert, observing with a blend of inhibition and fixation, converted an otherwise modest instance into one of cinema's most disconcerting illustrations of desire. Lyon was 14 when filming started, turning 15 as production continued, amplifying the scandal. The motion picture production code insisted on significant modifications, prompting Kubrick to later acknowledge that a faithful adaptation of Vladimir Nabokov's novel would have rendered the film unreleasable. Although Lolita prompted outcry, it also attracted critical notice, with some applauding its rebellious angle, while others wondered if it weakened the novel's unsettling essence. Accounts indicate the movie fared well financially, although its exact box office results remain disputed. Nevertheless, it firmly established Kubrick's status as a director unafraid of pushing boundaries, ensuring Lolita continued as a lightning rod of conversation for decades. And God Created Woman. By 1956, the film capital had refined subtlety, but And God Created Woman refused to comply with convention. Brigitte Bardot's liberated dance scene was a cinematic jolt. Barefoot, wild-haired, and emanating unrestrained allure. Some observers claim it was captured in a single take without rehearsal, though tangible proof remains elusive. The Vatican condemned this feature as immoral, igniting censorship disputes across Europe and imposing strict limitations in parts of the United States. Despite or perhaps fueled by the uproar, this production became a substantial box office triumph, raking in millions worldwide. Director Roger Vadim, Bardot's then-husband, reportedly envisioned her as a contemporary goddess, a portrayal that stirred discussions over whether the motion picture was a revolutionary portrayal of female liberation or mere exploitation. In any case, it shattered cinematic barriers, laying the groundwork for the ensuing sexual revolution. The Graduate. By 1967, Hollywood's handling of on-screen intimacy was in flux, and The Graduate became a focal point for controversy. Its most notorious intimate sequence features Anne Bancroft's Mrs. Robinson, a married woman in her 40s, enticing the inexperienced Benjamin Braddock, played by Dustin Hoffman. Bancroft, who was 35 at the time, took on a role emanating authority, while Hoffman's portrayal of a 20-year-old recent college graduate heightened the scene's unbalanced power dynamic. Director Mike Nichols employed shadows, reflections, and drawn-out silences to heighten the strain, making the encounter feel at once close and distant. Critics of the era disagreed. Some applauded its boldness, while others questioned whether it depicted seduction or manipulation. Its impact was undeniable, sparking dialogues about age and gender in ways Hollywood had seldom confronted so directly. Nichols' direction won him an Academy Award, and the film's triumph indicated that audiences were prepared for more provocative, psychologically layered examinations of romance on screen. A Streetcar Named Desire. When A Streetcar Named Desire debuted in 1951, its portrayal of raw lust and psychological tension pushed Hollywood's limits. Marlon Brando's embodiment of Stanley Kowalski radiated a physical force that collided with Vivien Leigh's delicate Blanche Dubois, generating palpable on-screen friction. The film's most contentious moment, an implied act of aggression, was harshly edited not by the Hays Code, but by the Catholic Legion of Decency. Censors insisted on modifications, including a revised ending where Stanley encounters repercussions, diluting the original play's more equivocal finale. Even with these alterations, the film preserved an unsettling sensual undertone, with director Elia Kazan employing lighting and off-screen hints to retain its edge. Some reports claim that Brando and Lee's real-life unease heightened the film's charged mood, though accounts differ on the scale of their off-screen relationship. In the end, the production, despite its modified version, continued to rank among the boldest of its era. The Night of the Iguana. Few productions of the early 1960s challenged Hollywood's censorship regulations quite like The Night of the Iguana. Adapted from Tennessee Williams's play, the cinematic interpretation delved into themes of repression and desire, centering on a divisive connection between Richard Burton's Reverend T. Lawrence Shannon and Sue Lyon's Charlotte Goodall. Their on-screen moments exuded a profound aura of unease, with Burton's conflicted ex-priest resisting Lyon's advances in a manner that some observers deemed disquieting. Censorship disputes followed the production closely, with the Motion Picture Association of America demanding alterations to soften the movie's more suggestive aspects. Rumors circulated that earlier versions of the script hinted at a more explicit relationship, though formal documentation does not substantiate these claims. Director John Huston reportedly clashed with regulators, determined to preserve the unfiltered intensity of Williams' original vision. Ava Gardner's turn as Maxine Falk introduced an additional layer of sensuality. As the uninhibited hotel owner, Gardner's unapologetic portrayal defied convention, presenting a woman fully at ease with her own desires. Her dynamic with Burton's character underscored the feature's examination of constraint, making their interactions among the most charged passages on screen. Off-camera tumult only enhanced the project's mystique. Burton's well-publicized romance with Elizabeth Taylor dominated headlines, prompting others to wonder if his personal entanglements colored his on-screen chemistry. Though no definitive evidence exists, the speculation added to the picture's intrigue. Even with mandated cuts, The Night of the Iguana retained much of its provocative edge. It received the Academy Award for Best Costume Design, black and white, and endures as a benchmark in Hollywood's gradual relaxation of content restrictions. From Here to Eternity. In 1953, From Here to Eternity caused a stir with A Solitary Kiss. Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr's intimate embrace amid the crashing surf evolved into one of Hollywood's most iconic love scenes, so bold that it required alterations to meet the Hays Code standards. The Motion Picture Association ruled that the original cut was too suggestive, prompting changes that reduced its duration and tempered its fervor. Despite these revisions, the moment was still revolutionary, expanding the boundaries of what mainstream cinema could portray. Behind the lens, gossip centered on Lancaster and Kerr's irrefutable chemistry. Though no verified affair emerged, stories persisted, fueled by their on-screen passion and off-screen camaraderie. Some film scholars posit that their believable performances left viewers questioning whether something deeper lay beneath the surface. Despite early unease about censorship, the film triumphed with 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Decades later, its cultural imprint remains indisputable. The scene has been spoofed, cited, and revered as one of the most unforgettable romantic moments in film history. Even amid Hollywood's shifting norms, few passion-filled sequences have rivaled its enduring resonance. The Postman Always Rings Twice. The Postman Always Rings Twice tested the movie capital's boundaries in 1946 with a love scene that nearly defied the production code. Lana Turner and John Garfield's kitchen kiss radiated vivid intensity, pushing censors to the brink. The Production Code Administration initially rejected the script, forcing adjustments before granting approval. Turner's iconic all-white outfit became a symbol of seductive danger, heightening the tension. While explicit passion was off-limits, the picture's charged mood proved that suggestion could be just as provocative. Some speculate that director Tay Garnett had to carefully navigate multiple takes to appease industry watchdogs, though no documented evidence exists. Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind's bedroom sequence between Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara still stands as one of the most hotly discussed moments in classic Hollywood. Released in 1939, the film challenged the stringent rules of the Production Code Administration, which meticulously oversaw portrayals of intimacy. The scene in question follows a heated dispute, culminating in Rhett lifting Scarlett up a sweeping staircase. What happens next is left largely to suggestion, but the fervor in Clark Gable and Vivien Leigh's performances made it unmistakably daring for its era. Censors reportedly compelled producer David O. Selznick to soften portions of the scene, ensuring that nothing overtly explicit appeared. Internal memos indicate that dialogue and cinematography were adjusted to align with the code's regulations, yet the film still conveyed an irresistible passion. Critics of the time recognized its audacity, with some applauding its emotional depth while others questioned its propriety. Rumors continue that Leigh found the shoot difficult due to Gable's dominant presence, though no conclusive proof supports this. Some propose that their off-screen rapport, marked by mutual respect yet occasional friction, intensified the scene's charged atmosphere. Even so, the sequence endures as a landmark illustration of how Golden Age Hollywood balanced sensuality under rigorous censorship. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. By the late 1950s, Hollywood's production code still governed how much sensuality could appear on screen, but Cat on a Hot Tin Roof pushed the boundaries. Elizabeth Taylor's Maggie, draped in a now iconic white slip, channeled both yearning and frustration as she faced Paul Newman's emotionally withdrawn Brick. The tension was unmistakable, even though the adaptation diluted some of Tennessee Williams' original themes, including Brick's hints of affection toward his late friend Skipper. Although censors mandated alterations, the connection between Taylor and Newman left no doubt. Many insiders claim director Richard Brooks leaned on physical cues and understated dialogue to preserve the play's intensity, with Taylor's performance balancing fragility and allure. The moment Maggie implores Brick for attention became one of the period's most daring sequences, reminding audiences that illusion could resonate as strongly as overt imagery. The film ignited discussions about its softened motifs, yet still found critical and commercial triumph, earning 6 Academy Award nominations and cementing Taylor and Newman as one of cinema's most magnetic pairs. Gilda. In 1946, Gilda ignited uproar with one of the most provocative moments from that golden period of American cinema. Rita Hayworth's rendition of Put the Blame on Mame turned a simple act, removing a glove, into an unforgettable demonstration of allure. Operating under the rigid Hays Code, which prohibited overt sensuality, the scene relied on insinuation rather than blatant content, enabling it to evade censorship despite its irresistible appeal. The film's noir elements of treachery and longing increased its impact, and Hayworth's rapport with Glenn Ford elevated the tension further. Sources indicate censors questioned whether the scene crossed a line, but in the end, its understated execution kept it within the code's rules. Viewers were mesmerized, establishing Hayworth's reputation as a cinematic powerhouse. She is often associated with the comment, "Men go to bed with Gilda, but wake up with me," highlighting the stark difference between her screen persona and everyday life. Many years later, the scene continues as one of classic Hollywood's most renowned displays of seduction, illustrating that innuendo can surpass explicitness in impact. The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone. The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone, 1961, challenged Hollywood's production code with its portrayal of an older woman's romantic entanglement with a young gigolo. Vivian Lee's character, Karen Stone, shares scenes with Warren Beatty's Paolo that burn with subdued passion. Though the film avoids overt content, its extended close-ups and elusive framing communicated more than censors deemed comfortable. Various sources claim certain cuts were mandated to temper the suggestions of their liaison, although precise details remain unknown. Critics of the time registered divided opinions. Some admired its audacious themes, whereas others perceived its treatment of sexuality as too melancholic. Rumors persist that Lee's private battles infused her role with an extra measure of fragility, though this remains unconfirmed. Nonetheless, the production stands as one of that period's bolder examinations of female desire, distinguishing itself when Hollywood frequently sidestepped such storylines. Pandora and the Flying Dutchman. Pandora and the Flying Dutchman, released in 1951, merged legend with desire in a way that unsettled film regulators. Ava Gardner's portrayal of Pandora Reynolds exuded a mystique that felt nearly supernatural, magnified by Jack Cardiff's sumptuous Technicolor cinematography. One of the film's most memorable romantic interludes takes place on a secluded shoreline, where Pandora, wrapped in flowing drapery, yields to James Mason's Hendrik van der Zee. The contrast of Gardner's scarlet gown against the cerulean sea provided a mesmerizing tableau, heightening the scene's intensity. Albert Lewin, who both wrote and directed, choreographed these sequences with an artist's eye, favoring elegance over explicitness. Still, some accounts indicate that British censors weighed in on the sustained close-ups and suggestive dialogue, though they ultimately required only minor changes. Though never outright forbidden, the movie's moody sensuality inspired debate, prompting select critics to deem it overly risque for its time. Even now, its entrancing love scenes still serve as a hallmark of Golden Age passion. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.